What's up guys, today we'll be doing Henry Park Primary School 2023 end of year exam for Primary 5, Paper 2. Alright, let's jump right in. Looking at question 1, it says the mass of a tennis ball is 58.3 grams. Right off the bat, I want to write that down, noting that the tennis ball is equals to 58.3 grams. Alright, this is sentence number 1. Moving on to sentence number 2, what does it say? The mass of an empty basket is 356 grams. And I know my basket equals to 356 grams. Alright, let's look at sentence number 3, the main question. Find the total mass of the basket containing 40 such tennis balls. Looking at this, I know that I am dealing with a mass topic with a number of sets concept. So if one tennis ball equals to 58.3 grams, what does 40 tennis ball equate to? That would be 40.3 grams multiplied by 40, and that would simply give me 2,332 grams. Right, this is the weight of 40 tennis balls. But the question is asking us for the basket containing 40 of such tennis balls. So we have to add in the weight of the basket as well. And the total weight would be equals to 2,332 grams plus the weight of the basket, which is 356 grams, and that will give me a grand total of 2,688 grams, and this is your answer for question number 1. Jumping right into question number 2, Tom has 4,200 in his savings account. Sentence number 1 says that his savings account, Tom, has a total of $4,200. Now looking at sentence number 2, it says he earns 2.5% interest each year. Alright, so annually he has an increase of 2.5%. Immediately I know that this is a percentage question, and the concept of this question is interest. Alright, so I know that my 100% equals to 4,200. Now moving on to sentence number 3, the main question. Let's read it. How much will Tom have in his account at the end of 1 year? Alright, we want to focus on this 1 year over here. At the end of 1 year, what would the total percentage be inside his savings account? Alright, if there is an addition of 2.5%, the total would be 102.5%. Okay, and to find that, we just have to take 102.5 over 100 multiplied by 4,200. Alright, cancelling the zeros. Multiplying 102.5 by 42, I would get an answer of $4,305, and this is your answer for question number 2. Now let's look at question 3. Immediately I know that this is an area and parameter question. Alright, let's read the question together. It says the shaded area of the figure below is 50 cm square. I know that this is 50 cm square. Now this is sentence number 1. Now let's look at sentence number 2. It says find the area of the unshaded part. What I want to do is to look at the image that is given. Alright, I can see that right here I have something that we call a mountain triangle, with the height being this dotted line in here, which is 18 cm. Alright, so if I were to find the area of the whole triangle, both the unshaded and the shaded part, that would simply be area of whole triangle would be half times base times height, which would be half times 30 cm times 18 cm. Alright, and that would simply give me 270 cm square. Knowing that the shaded part is 50 cm square and the whole triangle is 270 cm square, what I want to do is to take the whole triangle minus the shaded part. Okay, and that would simply be 270 cm square minus 50 cm square, and that would give me an answer of 220 cm square. And this is your answer for question number 3. Now looking at question number 4. Alright, immediately I know that we have an angles question over here, and the concept we are going to use is basic properties. Now let's read the question. In the figure below, a rectangular piece of paper is folded along DE as shown. Knowing that the piece of paper is a rectangle, I immediately know that angle DAE equals to 90 degrees, which is over here. If angle DEA is 70 degrees, I can find angle EDA, and that would simply be 180 degrees minus 90 degrees minus 70 degrees, and that would give me a total of 20 degrees. And the reason why I know this is because of angle sum of triangle. They add up to 180 degrees. So I immediately know now this angle is 20 degrees. Knowing that the corner A is folded down, if I were to fold it back up, I would also see that this angle over here is 20 degrees. And if it's unfolded, if A were to be over here, ADC, which is this right here, would be 90 degrees, which is a corner of a rectangle. Alright, so knowing that angle P is simply 90 degrees minus 20, and that would simply give me 50 degrees. And this is your answer for question number 4. Moving on to question number 5. Right, it says Fred and Gary had $952 all together. Alright, so what I want to do is to list it down. Fred and Gary has a total of $952. Now moving on to sentence number 2. Gary and Henry had $730 all together. So Gary plus Henry has a total of $730. Sentence number 3 says Fred plus Henry has a total of $638 altogether. Now moving on to the question, it says how much money did Henry have? Alright, right here I immediately know that this is a whole number repeated identity question. Alright, knowing that I am looking for Henry, what I want to do is to add Gary and Henry together with Fred and Henry. So now if I were to add the two together, it will look something like this. Gary plus Henry plus Fred plus Henry equals to $730 plus $638, and that would give me $1,368. If you look at this, you actually realize that this $1,368 is actually Fred plus Gary plus 2 Henrys. Now what I want to do is to minus away my Fred and my Gary by just minusing $952. So what I want to do is to put 2 Henrys equals to 1,368 minus 952, and that would give me $416. Now, if this is 2 Henry and they are asking me for 1 Henry, what I have to do is just to take $416, divide it by 2, and that would give me $208. And this is my answer for question number 5. Alright, next question. Question number 6. Farah had a bag of colored beads. Does this sentence tell us anything? No, there's nothing I can write out of this sentence, right? So we're going to move on to sentence number 2. It says, she wanted to make 8 bracelets but was short of 145 beads. Now, whenever I see this word short, alright, my guess is that this is a excess and shortage question. Or sometimes we can also call this scenario 1 and scenario 2. Now what I want to do is to start drawing my model. Alright, if she were to make 8 bracelets, she would be short of 145. Alright, so this line is what she actually has. Alright, anything past this line is something that she does not have. And let's look at sentence number 3. It says, after she made 3 bracelets, she had 210 beads left. Alright, so if she were to make 3 bracelets, which I am going to label here, she would have 210 beads left. Okay, so this is 8 bracelets. And this is 3 bracelets. Now, how many beads does Farah have in the bag? This is sentence number 4. Okay, so what we are looking for is this over here. What we are looking for is what she actually have, not what she does not have. Okay, so from here, what can we do? What I want to do is something called mirror imaging. Alright, so what I have on one side of the model, I want to replicate on the other side. This would be 210 as well. Knowing that all of this can make me 8 bracelets, and this amount can make me 3 bracelets, what I know is that this over here is actually 5 bracelets. Alright, so knowing that 5 bracelets equals to 210 plus 145, which gives me 355. I can find how many beads one bracelet requires, which is 355 divided by 5, and that would simply give me 71 beads. Alright, let's look back at the question again. It says, how many beads did Farah have in the bag? Knowing that she is able to make 3 bracelets and have 210 left over, what I want to do is to find 3 bracelets first. Okay, which would be 71 beads multiplied by 3, which would equal to 213 beads. And what I want to do is to say the total number of beads, okay, equals to 213, which is the equivalent of 3 bracelets, plus what she would have left over, which is 210. And that would simply give me 423 beads. And this is your answer for question number 6. Moving on to question number 7. Here we have a before and after question. Alright, let's read it together. Ahmad baked some chocolate and strawberry cupcakes in the ratio of 2:7. Alright, so what we want to do is to draw our table. Alright, our BCA table. So we will have our before, our change, and our after. And we know that we have chocolate and strawberry as our columns. Now we know that we have 2 units for chocolate and 7 units for strawberry. Now let's read sentence number 2. It says, he sold half of the strawberry cupcakes in the morning. Alright, knowing that I need to divide my strawberry by 2, what I want to do is to make this a number that is divisible by 2. Okay, and what I want to do is just to multiply it by 2. So that will just be 14 And what I do to the strawberry, I want to keep the ratio the same. So I need to multiply my chocolate by 2. So that will be 2 times 2, and that would give me 4. Alright, and if I were to divide by 2, I would have 7 units after. Alright, so I have 4 units over here, 14 units here, and 7 units after half the strawberry cupcakes were sold in the morning. Let's look at sentence number 3. Alright, it says, after that, he had 285 more strawberry cupcakes than chocolate cupcakes left. Alright, you see that actually there is no change in my chocolate cupcake. So what I can say is that there is no change. The after for chocolate is also 4 units. Alright, and if they said that there are 285 more strawberry cupcakes than chocolate cupcakes, what I want to do is to find the difference, right, in units. So I know 7 minus 4, that will give me 3 units. So I know that 3 units, which is the difference in units, is equal to the difference in cupcakes. And that would be 285. Now what I want to do is to find my Mr. Greenman, and that is to just take 285 divided by 3, and that would give me 95 cupcakes. Now let's look at the last sentence. Okay, it says, how many cupcakes did Ahmad bake in total? Alright, this is my at first, because the question is asking us how many did Ahmad bake at the start. Alright, looking at my before, I can see that I have a total of 18 units. Alright, so that would simply be 95 multiplied by 18. And that would give me 1,710 cupcakes. And this is your answer for question number 7. Moving on to question number 8. Mrs. Low boarded a taxi at the airport and headed to a hotel 16 km and 300 meters away. This is sentence number 1. So we know that the total distance is 16 km and 300 meters. Alright, now moving on to sentence number 2, it says, her taxi fare was based on the charges shown below. Alright, below we have a table. What does it say? The first kilometer or less is $4.20. Now, every 400 meter thereafter or less is 27 cents. And airport surcharge is $3.50. Now, how much was her taxi fare? Knowing that the total distance equals to 16 km and 300 meters, we definitely know that she had to pay the first kilometer, which is $4.20. So what I'm going to write it down here, the first km equals to $4.20. And what she is left with is 16 km 300 meters minus 1 km, and that would just give me 15 km and 300 meters. Now looking at the second row of the table, it says every 400 meter thereafter or less, you have to pay a charge of 27 cents. What I want to do is to convert all of this into meters. Alright? So that would be 15,300 meters. Now what I can do is to apply this concept called number of sets. What I want to do now is to make my 400 meters one set. Alright, if 400 meters equals to 1 set, how many sets is 15,300 meters? Okay, how can I find that? It's just to take 15300 meters divided by 400 meters, and that would simply give me 38.25 sets. Alright, but what we want to do is to round up, because it says every 400 meters thereafter or less. This 0.25 is the less that we need to account for. So what we want to do is to round it up to 39. Alright, so knowing that we have 39 sets now, what I want to do is to take 39 sets. If one set equals to 0 $3.27. What does 39 cents equals to? Okay, that is just 27 cents multiplied by 39, and that would give me $10.53. Now what I want to do to find the total fare, alright, I have to add the first kilometer, which is $4.20, plus 39 sets of 400 meters that we found, right, which is $10.53. And lastly, not forgetting the airport surcharge. Right, knowing that she boarded the taxi at the airport, we have to add this $3.50 as well. Alright, so adding all of these together, I would get a total of $18.23. And this is your answer for question number 8. Moving on to question number 9, I can see that we have an angles question. Now let's read the question. In the figure below, A, B, C, D and D, E, F, G are two parallelograms. Alright, sentence number 1 tell me that we are working with parallelograms. So what I want to do immediately is to label the parallel lines. Alright, and I'm going to use a different color to label the other one as well. Knowing that I am working with parallelograms, I know that the concept that I will be using is called properties of geometrical figures. Alright, which is simply my Z, C, and F angles. Okay, zebras cannot fly, as we call it. Now let's move on to sentence number 2. It says AGB is a straight line. Alright, where is my line AGB? AGB is found right over here, and that is a straight line. Moving on to sentence number 3, it tells us that angle DEF is 50 degrees, angle DAG equals to 75 degrees, and angle CDE equals to 156 degrees. Alright, I'm going to label all the angles in red so that y'all can see it clearly. Now, what is the main question? Alright, it says find angle ADG. I'm going to label this angle in blue. They are asking us to find this angle over here. Alright, so how can we find this angle? Now, what I want to do is to use C angle to find angle EDG. Alright, first I want to highlight the C that I'm going to use to find this angle. Alright, the C is right here. From here, what I can say is that angle EDG is equals to 180 degrees minus 50 degrees, and that will simply give me 130 degrees. Alright, and the reason for this is interior angles or C angles. Alright, and I want to label the angle. So this angle over here is simply 130 degrees. Alright, moving on. Next, what I want to do is to find another angle. Alright, the angle ADC. Alright, ADC, which is over here. Right, angle ADC. And likewise, what I want to do is also to use interior angles, which is my C angles. Alright, and where is my C? My C is just over here. Alright, I hope everyone is able to see it. Alright, so angle ADC is equals to 180 degrees minus 75 degrees. I forgot to mention, this angle over here is 75 degrees as well. Why? Because in a parallelogram, the opposite angles are equal. So what I can say is that angle DAB equals to angle DCB, which is equals to 75 degrees. Alright, so moving back to angle ADC, this would simply give me 105 degrees. Now what I want to do next is to find another angle. Alright, angle GDC. How do I find angle GDC? Alright, angle GDC is this angle over here. Right, knowing that angle EDC is 156 degrees and angle EDG is 130 degrees, I can find angle GDC by using something called angle sum on a point. Knowing that all the angles on a point add up to 360 degrees, what I want to do is to take 360 degrees minus 156 degrees minus 130 degrees. And that would simply give me 74 degrees. Alright, so I know this angle right here is 74 degrees. Now the next angle I want to find is angle EDA. Angle EDA. How do I find this angle over here? Likewise, using sum of angles on a point, okay, we want to find angle EDA as well. Alright, and that would simply just be 360 degrees minus 156 degrees minus 105 degrees, which is equals to 99 degrees. Alright, so now I know that angle EDA is equals to 99 degrees. So now let's look at the question. What does it say? It tells me to find angle ADG. Right, before I forget, I want to write the same reason how I found this. Okay, we're moving back to angle ADG. Alright, how do I find that? If looking at this, now I can see that I know every angle at this point D except angle ADG. So, knowing that the sum of the angles on a point add up to 360 degrees, likewise, I can do the same thing that I've been doing, right? Which is to take 360 degrees minus 156 degrees minus 74 degrees and minus 99 degrees. Okay, and that would simply give me 31 degrees. And this is your answer for question number 9. Moving on to the next question, question number 10. Alright, here we have a line graph question. Let's look at what the question says. The graph below shows the sale of concert tickets for 6 days. Use the graph to answer the following questions. Alright, so looking at the graph, we can see that we have 6 days and for each day we have the number of tickets sold. So what I want to do first is to label what the number of tickets sold for each day is. Alright, so we have 200 for day 1. For day 2 we have 50. Day 3 we have 450. Day 4 we have 350. Day 5 we have 100. And lastly, day 6 we have 250. Alright, let's look at question A. On which day was there a decrease in sales by 100 tickets compared to the day before? If we were to look at the decrease, you can see from 200 to 50, this is a decrease of 150. Alright, and immediately I can see that there is a decrease of 100 down here. Alright, so on which day there is a decrease? The answer would be day 4. Your answer for part A would be day 4. Alright, moving on to part B. Let's read the question. It says 7 over 10 of the total number of tickets sold from day 4 to day 6 were child tickets. Alright, so this is my sentence number 1. Now it says the rest were adult tickets. What I want to do immediately is to list down the number of units we have for both child and adults. So child is to adults. We have 7 is to 3. Alright, now let's move on to the next sentence. It says the prices of adult and child tickets are shown below, with the adult costing $45 and the child $20. Now let's look at sentence number 4, which is my last sentence and the main question. How much money was collected from the sales of ticket from day 4 to day 6? What we want to do is to take a look at our line graph once again. Alright, noting that day 4 is 350, day 5 is 100 and day 6 is 250. So what I want to do is to find the total number of tickets among the 3 days. Okay, so the total number of tickets would simply be 350 plus 100 plus 250, which is day 4 to day 6, and that would simply give me 700 tickets. Knowing that I have 700 tickets and the ratio of child is to adult tickets is 7:3, I know that 10 units equals to 700 tickets. Alright, so what I can do is to find my Mr. Green Man, which is to find 1 unit, and that will simply be 700 divided by 10, and that will give me 70. Now what I want to do is to find the number of child tickets, which is 7 units. Alright, so 7 units would simply be 70 times 7. And that would simply give me 490 tickets. Okay, and this is the number of tickets for children. Likewise, with the adults, we want to find the total number of tickets for adults, and that is 70 times 3. And that will simply give me 210. Okay, and this is the adults. Moving on from here, we want to find the total amount of money collected, right? So if we have 490 child tickets, 1 child ticket is $20. Alright, so if 1 child equals to $20, we are looking for 490 children tickets. Okay, and that it would simply be $20 times 490. And that would simply give me $9,800. Like what we did with the child tickets, we want to do with the adult tickets as well. Okay, noting that 1 adult ticket equals to $45. Alright, and how many adult tickets are we looking for? We are looking for 210 adult tickets. And that would simply be 45 times 210. And that would be 9,450. So what we can do now is to find the total amount collected, which is just 9,800 plus 9,450, and that would give me 19,250, and this is my answer for question number 10. Michael has 5 times as much money as Ravi. Alright, so right off the bat, what I want to do is to list out the ratio. Michael is to Ravi, 5:1. Alright, moving on to the next sentence. It says they have $4,560 altogether. So from this, we know that this is the total amount, which is 6 units. Alright, with Michael having 5 units and Ravi having 1 unit. Alright, let's look at part A. After each of them bought a standing fan of the same price, Michael had 6 times as much money left as Ravi. Alright, this is my sentence number 3. Now, what happened to both of them? We don't know how much the price of the fan is, but we know that they have to minus the same amount. Right? After subtracting the same amount, the ratio becomes 6 parts is to 1 part. Now, whenever I see that the same amount is being subtracted in both parties, right, what I want to do is to identify the concept that is being used. Okay, so firstly, this is a ratio question. Alright, and the concept that we are using here is something we call constant difference. If the same amount is being subtracted from both Michael and Ravi, their difference will not change. So what I want to do is to add another ratio over here, okay, and that would be D for difference. Alright, the difference between 5 and 1 is 4 units. And after the subtraction, the difference in parts would be 5 parts. Alright, and we know that 4 units and 5 parts are the same. So what I want to do is to make them equal. So how can I do that? I want to multiply my 4 units by 5. Alright, and if I were to do this like that, okay, multiply it by 5, what I'm going to get is to have 20 units. Alright, and what I do with my difference, I want to do with Michael and Ravi as well. Okay, multiplying all of them by 5. And what I'll have is Ravi having 5 units and Michael having 25 units. Alright, and if you take a look at this, 25 units minus 5 units would give me the difference of 20 units. So this still makes sense. And what I want to do is to do the same with the parts, alright, to make it equal to 20 parts. So if I were to multiply this by 4, I would have 20 parts. Okay, and likewise, what I do with my difference, I do with Michael and Ravi as well. 6 parts multiplied by 4, that would give me 24 parts, is to Ravi 4 parts. And if you notice, 24 minus 4 would give me 20. So this makes sense still. And if you look at it, right, if you compare the 2 new parts that I did, okay, which I am going to change the color for. Okay, I'm going to change it to red. Now, if you take a look at this red part over here, when they minus x, you notice that it is both just 1 unit. Right? It is 1 unit. So now we know that x equals to 1 unit. Right? From 5 to 4 and 25 to 24, it is both the same. So now what I want to do is to read the last sentence. Alright, sentence number 4. It says, how much was the standing fan? Alright, knowing that they have $4,560 altogether, I know that that is the total number, which is my original 6 units, right? But after multiplying everything by 5, I know that the total now is 30 units, alright? So if 30 units equals to 4,560, what is my 1 unit? My Mr. Greenman is simply 4,560 divided by 30. And that would simply be $152. Alright, and if they are looking for the price of the standing fan, alright, I have to know that the price is X. And X equals to 1 unit. So therefore, I have found my answer, alright? The answer to this question, question 11, is $152. Alright, moving on to part B. Alright, it says, after buying the standing fan, Michael gave Ravi some money. So here we have an internal transfer that is going on, right? Right? If Michael gives Ravi money, their total will still remain the same. Okay, that is what I want to take note. Alright, now moving on to the second sentence. It says, Michael and Ravi then had an equal amount of money. So reading this sentence, this also tells me that this is a equal stage ending concept question. Right, what I want to do now is to find out how much Michael and Ravi has individually. From part A, I know that Michael ends up with 24 parts, alright, which is simply 152 times 24, alright, and that would simply give me $3,648. And as for Ravi has a total of 4 parts, right, after he bought the fan, and that would simply be 152 times 4, and that would be $608. Alright, so now what I want to do is to draw my model. I have Michael and Ravi, Michael having a total of $3,648 and Ravi only having $608. Alright, so what I want to do is to mirror image this, knowing that this is also $608. If he were to give him some money and they ended up with equal amounts, right? What is happening, right, is that this is being split in 2. Alright, and this is being given to Ravi. Alright, and what is this amount? What is this amount that we have over here? That is simply 3,648 minus $608. Okay, and that would give me $3,040. So now we know that this amount over here is $3,040. Now let's look at the main question. Alright, sentence number 3. Alright, it asks, how much money did Michael give to Ravi? Okay, knowing that this is 3,040, right, he actually gave half of this. If you look at my model, right, half of it is going over to Ravi so that they have an equal amount in the end. Okay, so what I want to do is just to take $3,040 divided by 2. Alright, and that would simply give me $1,520. And this is your answer for part B. Moving on to question 12. Ali earns a fixed monthly salary. This sentence doesn't tell us much information. There's nothing that I can write out of this sentence. So I'll move on to the next. In June, he spent 1/3 of his salary on a table. And sentence 3, 5/6 of his remaining salary on a television. So immediately reading this question, I know that this is a fractions question, and the concept that we are working with is remainder of remainder. Alright, let's jump right into part A. Right, what fraction of Ali's salary was spent on the television? Alright, what I want to do is to draw a model. Okay, if he spent 1/3, okay, I'm going to draw a big model so that I can break it up later on. 1/3 of it is spent on a table. And sentence number 3 says that 5/6 of his remaining salary on a television. So what I'm going to do is to break this up into 6, right? Breaking up both units by 3, and that will give me 6 units. Okay, what I did with that, I'm going to do with a unit that is spent on the table as well. And I know that 5 of this is spent on the television. So looking at this, I can immediately tell that this amount is spent on the television. Alright, and what is the fraction? Okay, it's just 5 over the total number of units of 9. So that is my answer for part A. Okay, moving on to part B. It says, after buying the table and the television, Ali had $360 left. Alright, this is sentence number 1. And now, what does sentence number 2 say? Then he spent $336 to buy a total of 20 plates and bowls. Okay, each bowl, sentence number 3, cost $27, while each plate costs $10. Okay, so looking at this, I immediately know that this is a guess and check question. So whenever I'm dealing with guess and check, what I want to do is to draw my table. Okay, I draw my table. So I will have 3 columns over here. I have my total. Okay, and what I have is my plates and my bowls. Each plate costs $10 and each bowl costs $27, which I'm gonna list inside here. Okay, and what do we know from sentence number 2? That the total number of plates and bowls is 20. So the first step of guess and check is to guess. What I want to do is to just split it right down the middle first, okay, to have a good gauge on where the total amount will stand in relation to the total cost that he actually spent. Okay, so if he had 20 plates and bowls, I split it right down the middle. He will have 10 plates and 10 bowls. Alright, so 10 plates being $100 and 10 bowls being $270. If I add them together, the total will be $370. And we know this is wrong. Why? Because he spent a total of $336. So this is way too high. We have to bring the amount down. Okay, and how do we bring it down? Alright, we have to look at what costs more and bring this number down. Okay, because if we were to increase the number of bowls, right, let's say to 11, right, then I'm actually adding more amount. Okay, I'm adding an additional $27 and minusing $10. So there will be an overall increase in the price, bringing my total up. So if I want to bring it down, what I want to do is to increase the number of plates instead. Okay, so that would be 11 and 9, 11 plates and 9 bowls. Okay, 11 plates, that will give me $110. And for bowls, 9 bowls will give me $243. Okay, adding this together, that will give me $353. And look, it is still too high. So what I want to do is to do that one more time. Okay, it's still too high. So I'm gonna bring down the bowls, bring up the plates. Okay, so now it will be 12 and 8. Having 12 plates, of course, that will give me 120. 8 plates will simply give me $216. Okay, adding these two up, I can see that I get the total amount of $336. And this is the correct amount of plates and bowls that he bought. Now, next what we want to do is to read the final sentence. Okay, sentence number 4. What fraction of Ali's salary was spent on the plates? Now, before we can find the fraction, what we need to find is to find Ali's salary. Looking back at sentence number 1, we can see that Ali had $360 left after buying the table and the television. Alright, and if you look at part A, we can see that what he has left is simply 1 unit, right, which is $360. Okay, knowing that he has 9 units, how do I find his salary? I simply know that 1 unit equals to $360. 9 unit will simply be $360 multiplied by 9. And that would simply give me $3,240. Alright, so now we know that this is his salary. Now, looking back at the question, okay, what fraction of Ali's salary was spent on plates? So, looking at plates, we know that he spent a total of $120. Okay, so the fraction will simply be 120 over 3,240. Simplifying this, what we will get is 1 over 27. And this is your answer to question 12, part B. Next question, question number 13. Mr. Tan sold chairs at a furniture sale event. There's not much information over here. We are moving on to the next sentence. For every chair sold, he would earn $3. Alright, what we want to do is to say that when he sells one chair, he would earn $3. Right, sentence number 3. It says, for every 25 chairs sold, he would earn an additional $10. So when he sells 25 chairs, he will earn $3 times 25. But there will be an additional $10. Okay. This would give me $85. Moving on to sentence number 4. It says, given that Mr. Tan earned $364 from selling chairs, alright, how many chairs did he sell? From this sentence, I can tell that this question is a number of sets question. Okay, and what I want to do is to label my $85 as one set. Okay, being 25 chairs. So if $85 equals to one set, what we want to find is how many sets $364 is. Okay, and how can we find that? We can simply take $364 divided by $85, and that would give me 4 sets with a remainder of $24. Okay, knowing that we have 4 sets within this $364, one set equals to 25 chairs as well. Alright, so 4 sets would simply be 25 chairs times 4. And that would give me 100 chairs. But we cannot forget about the $24 remaining. Now, if Mr. Tan received $3 for one chair, for $24, how many chairs will he receive? How can we find that? We can simply take $24 divided by $3. Okay, and that will simply give me 8 chairs. The total number of chairs that Mr. Tan sold is simply 100 plus 8, which would give me 108. And this is my answer for question number 13. Okay, moving on to question number 14. Right off the bat, I know that I am looking at a volume question. Alright, let's read it together. A container measuring 25 cm by 16 cm by 48 cm was 1/3 filled with water at first. Alright, this is my sentence number 1. Knowing that the container is 1/3 filled with water, what I want to do first is to find the height of the water, okay? And that would simply be 1/3 of 48 cm, which is 16 cm. Now, knowing the height of my water, what I can do is to find the volume of water inside, and that would be 25 cm times 16 cm times 16 cm. That would give me 6,400 cm cubed. Now, what does it say next? Okay, sentence number 2, it says 500 ml of water was then used for watering the plants. Now, what I want to do is to convert 500 ml into cm cube, which is simply 500 cm cube. Okay, and if 500 cm cube of water is being used to water the plants, the amount of water after the watering of the plant would simply be 6,400 cm cube minus 500 cm cube, and that would give me 5,900 cm cube. Now, looking at part A, it says how many liters of water were left in the container. Alright, looking at this question, I know that I have already found my answer. But what we have is 5,900 cm cube. What they are looking for is liters of water. So what we have to do is to convert this first into 5,900 ml. And after that, converting it into liters by bouncing the decimal 3 times, which will give me 5.9 liters. And this is my answer for part A. Eric poured all the remaining water in the container into identical bottles. Alright, so immediately I know, when I see identical, I know that this is a number of sets question. Right, now given the capacity of each bottle was 200 ml, what was the smallest number of such bottles Eric used? First, what I want to do with my 200 ml is to convert it into 200 cm cube. Okay, and now I know that the new volume of water, right? The new volume of water is 5,900 cm cube. If each bottle is 200 ml, I can find the number of bottles by simply taking 5,900 cm cube divided by 200 cm cube. Okay, and that would give me 29.5 bottles. Alright, but it is not possible to have half a bottle, right? So what we're going to do is to round up this to 30, and this is your answer for part B. Moving on to question number 15. A box contains some colored ribbons. Alright, this sentence doesn't tell us much. So let's move on to the next sentence. It says 44% of ribbons are yellow and the rest are pink and blue. Right off the bat, I want to list down the ratio. Yellow being 44% and pink and blue being 56%. Alright, let's move on to the next part of the question. Sentence number 3. The ratio of the number of pink ribbons to the number of blue ribbons is 3:5. Alright, changing the color, what I want to do is to write another set of ratio. Pink is to blue. We know now that it is 3:5. Now, there are 1,700. Now, looking at this, what I can see is that this is a repeated identity question. Alright, this is a repeated identity question. What is being repeated right here? Okay, I can see that I have pink and blue over here and also pink and blue over here. Okay, and that is the repeated identity. But the total for my pink and blue over on this side is 56%. I can also call it 56 units. What I want to do is to add another part of my ratio over here, T being the total, okay, the total being 8. Alright, now what I can do is to make 8 the same as 56 by multiplying it by 7. Alright, so now if I were to do that with my 8, I want to do that to the rest of it as well, okay? So 3 times 7, that will be 21, is to 35, is to 56. Now we can see that the total of my pink and blue is 56 on both ends. So what I want to do is to write my new ratio, okay, which is yellow is to pink is to blue. Alright, now I know that yellow is 44 units. Alright, pink is 21 units and blue is 35 units. So this is the summary of my ratio. Now let's look at the next sentence. Sentence number 4 says, there are 1,748 more yellow ribbons than pink ribbons. Okay, more yellow than pink. All right. Now looking at the number of units for yellow and pink, I can see that the difference between yellow and pink is just 44 minus 21 units, right? That would simply give me 23 units. Okay, so now what we know is that 23 units equals to 1,748 ribbons. So what I want to do now is to simplify my Mr. Green Man, which is 1,748 divided by 23, and that would simply give me 76 ribbons. Right now, knowing one unit is 76 ribbons, we can look at the final question, alright? And that is sentence number 5, and it says, how many ribbons are there all together? How many ribbons are there all together? Okay, looking at yellow, pink, and blue, I can see that the total number of units, right? Total units is simply 44 plus 21 plus 35. And that would be 100 units. If 1 unit equals to 76, 100 units would simply be 76 times 100. And that would be 7,600 ribbons. And this is your answer for question number 15. Moving on to the next question, question number 16. A durian costs 3 times as much as a mango. First, what I want to do is to definitely break up my sentence and also to list down the ratio. Durians is to mango is 3:1. Now, let's move on to sentence number 2. Jiahui spent 5/7 of her money on 17 durians and 14 mangoes. Now, they have given us a fraction. What I want to do is to draw a model. Okay, I'm going to draw a model over here, splitting this into 7 parts. Here we have our model, and what do we know? What we know is that she spent 5/7 of her money on 17 durians and 14 mangoes. Alright, now looking at sentence number 3. What does it say? Then she spent half of the remaining money on another 3 durians and some mangoes. This is 3 durians and some mangoes. Okay, we don't know how many mangoes, so I'm just going to put a question mark over there. Now let's look at the question. It says, how many mangoes did she buy altogether? Also, from this sentence, I can tell that this is a fractions remainder of remainder question. Alright, now let's move to the last sentence. It says, how many mangoes did she buy all together? Now, what I want to do is to convert durians and mangoes into units. Okay, just like what I did with the ratio over here. So, 1 durian and 1 mango equals to 4 units in total. Likewise, with my 17 durians and my 14 mangoes, I want to convert those into units as well. 17 durians would simply be 17 times 3, and that would give me 51 units. 14 mango would be 14 units. Okay, so the total number of units over here, right, would simply be 51 units plus 14 units. Okay, and that would simply give me 65 units. Now I know that 17 durian and 14 mango is actually just 65 units. Okay, so if 5/7 of her salary is 65 units, can I find what 1/7 of her salary is? Okay, so what is this? How many units can I fit in one part of my model? Alright, if I have 5 parts equals to 65 units, right, one part would simply be 65 divided by 5, and that would give me 13 units. So now I know that one of these parts of my model is simply 13 units. Alright, so I also know that this is 13 units as well. And then now let's find out what 3 durian is in terms of units. Okay, so 3 durians is definitely just 3 times 3, and that would give me 9 units. Okay, so if I have 13 units over there, 13 units minus 9 units would simply give me 4 units. So now I know the amount of mangoes that she bought with the half of the remaining money is a total of 4 units. Okay, and how many mangoes can you buy with 4 units? If 1 mango equals to 1 unit, which is what we established over here, 4 mango is what you can get with 4 units. So now I know that this is actually 4 mangoes. Alright, looking at the total number of mangoes, going back to the question, it says how many mangoes did she buy altogether, right? So what I'm going to do is to look at what I have over here and what I have over here, which is 14 mangoes. 14 mangoes plus 4 mangoes, and that would simply give me 18 mangoes. And this is my answer for question number 16. Alright, moving on to the last question, question number 17. Okay, class 5K and class 5L made some large and small keychains to raise funds for charity. Okay, what does this sentence tell us? Okay, all we know is that there are large and small keychains. Okay, so there are 2 types. Right, sentence number 2, it says each large keychain costs 4 times as much as each small keychain. Looking at this, I know that there is multiples involved in this question. Alright, so the concept of multiples, whenever we are faced with this, what we want to do is to draw a model. Okay, so I'm going to just put large and small, large being 4 times, small having just 1 unit. Now moving on to the third sentence, it says each large keychain costs $14.80. Knowing that the large keychain costs $14.80, what I can do is to calculate how much my small keychain costs by taking 1480. Right, the small keychain would just be 1480 divided by 4. And that would simply give me $3.70. Alright, so my small keychain is $3.70. Alright, now let's look at the question. What does it say? Part A. Class 5K sought an equal number of small and large keychains. Sentence number 5. They collected $629 from the sale of all the keychains. Now what I want to do is to use the concept number of sets, which is something that we have used earlier in other questions, okay, on this question as well. Knowing that they sold an equal number of small and large keychains, what I want to do is to make 1 large and 1 small, 1 set. Okay, so I have a large plus a small, that would simply be $14.80 plus $3.70, and that would give me $18.50. Like what I said earlier, I am going to make this my 1 set. So if $18.50 equals to 1 set, what is $629? Okay, how can we find this? How many sets is 629? We can simply take 629 divided by 1850. Okay, and that would simply give me 34. Right, so I know that I have 34 sets. Right, and what did we say? 34 sets. 1 set equals to 1 large and 1 small. So 34 sets would simply be 34 large and 34 small. Alright, now let's look at the question. How many large keychains did class 5K sell? Okay, my sentence number 6. How many large? Right, we already know the answer. The answer is 34 large keychains. And this is the answer for part A. Now moving on to part B. Let's read it. Class 5L collected $529.10 from selling the small and large keychains. This is my sentence number 1. Alright, now let's move on to the next sentence. It says, the class sold 18 more small keychains than large keychains. Right, what does this tell me? First, what I want to do is to find out how much 18 small keychains cost. Alright, 18 small keychains would just be $3.70 times 18. Right, and that would give me $66.60. Now, what I want to do is to subtract this $66.60 from the total amount of money collected from selling all their keychains. And that would be $529.10 minus $66.60. Okay, and that would give me $462.50. This amount right here is what they collected from all the large keychains and all the small keychains minus 18 small keychains. What I want to do here is to use this concept called big difference, small difference. What this concept does for me is that I can find the number of items if I take the big difference, divide by the small difference. Alright, what do I mean by big difference and small difference? My big difference is simply all the large keychains minus the remaining small keychains. And how can I find that? If each large keychain is 4 times the cost of a small keychain, what I can do is simply take $462.50 divided by 5, which is 4 units plus 1 unit. So when I divide it by 5, what I want to do next is to multiply it by 3. Okay, to find the difference between the 4 and the 1. Alright, and that will be 3 units, right? $462.50 divided by 5. Okay, and multiplying that by 3, that would give me $277.50. Alright, so this is my big difference. Now the small difference would simply just be 1 large keychain minus 1 small keychain, which is simply $14.80 minus $3.70. That would simply give me $11.10. Using big difference divided by small difference, I can find the number of items within this $462.50. Number of items simply equals to $277.50 divided by $11.10. Okay, when I do this, I simply get 25 items. So what this means is that I have 25 large keychains and 25 small keychains. Alright, and now let's look at the final sentence, right? The question. How many small keychains did class 5L sell? Right, knowing that I have 25 small keychains in the midst of $462.50, what I want to do is to add the 18 extra small keychains that I minus out of that. So that would simply be 25 plus 18. And that would give me 43. And this is your answer for part B.
Hi everyone, if you like this video, you can click right here for a similar video, or you can view our playlist here.